Okay, so you've likely heard the term Belt and Road Initiative, right? It seems to be everywhere in global news,
Constantly, yeah.
but actually figuring out what it is,
Uh,
well, that can feel like wading through mud.
it really can. There's so much noise.
So today, we're going to try and cut through that. Based on the info you pulled together, we want to get to the core of the BRI. What is it really about? What's it doing?
Exactly. What are the big implications? We're drawing on materials, covering the economics, but also the strategic side of things.
Right, not just headlines. Let's understand the basic logic and what's actually happening on the ground.
Let's do it.
Okay, basics first. In a nutshell, what is the Belt and Road Initiative, and why did China, kick it off?
Well, think of it as this huge development strategy. The main idea is boosting connectivity, cooperation,
Hmm.
linking up continents.
Okay.
China launched it really to drive economic growth,
Hmm.
both for itself and hopefully internationally,
Hmm.
building trade roads. And let's be frank, strategically, it's also about boosting China's global influence, creating a world where China is a central player.
Right, and we've definitely seen the physical results of that, lots of infrastructure projects. How big are we talking here?
Oh, it's massive. Huge investments in ports, railways, roads, pipelines,
Whereabouts?
all across Asia, Africa, even into Europe and parts of Latin America. It's definitely upgraded infrastructure in many places, which, could open up economic doors.
Yeah, you can see the appeal. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing, has it? There are criticisms.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Several big concerns keep popping up.
Such as?
Well, a major one is debt sustainability. The worry that countries taking these big loans might struggle to pay them back, become too dependent.
Right, the debt trap idea people mention.
Exactly, that's related.
Mm.
Then there are questions about how transparent the deals are and the environmental cost of all this building.
Which leads nicely into the bigger strategic picture. It feels like the infrastructure, while huge, is maybe just part of it. How does BRI fit into China's broader foreign policy goals?
You nailed it. It's absolutely a key piece of their foreign policy. It's partly about pushing for a more multipolar world order.
Meaning not just one superpower?
Yeah, several centers of influence. It helps China build partnerships, secure access to resources, markets, and it projects this image, right? China as a leader in global development.
That term debt diplomacy comes up a lot with BRI. Can you just quickly unpack that?
Sure. It's basically the concern we touched on, that countries owing a lot of money to China for BRI projects might feel pressured politically or economically if they can't repay. It's about potential leverage.
Okay. So given all this, the scale, the strategy, the controversies, how have other big players like the U.S. reacted?
Mostly with caution,
Yeah.
sometimes quite critically. The U.S., some of its allies, they tend to see BRI as a strategic challenge.
To challenge how?
Concerns about fair trade, intellectual property, and yeah, that potential for China to gain too much influence. It's even led to them creating their own alternative financing initiatives.
Interesting. What about the countries actually in the BRI? Are they all happy campers?
Oh, definitely not a uniform view. It's really varied.
How so?
Some are really enthusiastic. They see the new roads, the ports, the potential economic boost. Others are much more cautious, worried about the debt, maybe the terms of the deals.
So a real mix of weighing the benefits against the risks.
Exactly. It depends heavily on the country and the specific project.
And you mentioned environmental costs earlier. What are the main worries there?
With such huge projects, the environmental impact is a big one. You're talking potential deforestation, damage to ecosystems, more pollution.
If safeguards aren't strong enough,
Right. If those environmental checks aren't built in and actually enforced, it's getting a lot more scrutiny now.
okay, so new ports, new railways. Is this likely to actually change the map for global trade in the long run?
It certainly could. It has that potential, creating new routes, maybe cutting transport times and costs.
But it's not a given.
No, not at all. It depends on so many things. Are the projects economically sound? Is the region stable? Are the networks sustainable long-term? Lots of ifs.
And finally, there's been some talk recently. Maybe BRI is slowing down a bit, losing steam. Is there anything to that?
There are signs, yeah, that the pace might be moderating somewhat.
Why might that be?
Could be a few things. Maybe more careful vetting of projects now. Those rising concerns about debt in some countries we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even shifts in China's own economy and priorities back home.
Okay, so summing up. BRI is this enormous, ambitious initiative, huge potential economic impacts, clear strategic goals for China, but also real concerns about debt, the environment, transparency.
Absolutely. And it's definitely not static. It's evolving, reacting to global shifts.
It really shows how complex global development and power dynamics are right now. So, thinking about everything we've discussed, the sheer size, the money, the politics, the impact, what single thing do you think will be the ultimate decider for whether the Belt and Road Initiative is seen as a success or a failure in the long run? Something for you, the listener, to chew on too.